Hey, P Psych. Hi, how are you doing? Hope you're doing great. Mr. Gallagher here to wrap up Unit 5, where we start out with cognition. We talked about language, and now we're going to move into our final segment, which is 5C Intelligence. So I'm not going to take too much of your time here at this one. Again, I try and get 10 minutes or less, so here we go. All right, intelligence, what we know, right? Ability to learn from experience, solve problems, and to use knowledge to adapt to new situations. Makes sense. So psychologists study this for multiple reasons. Obviously, intelligence has to do with cognition first and foremost. Um, Again, don't worry about that. You can watch that on your own time. What is intelligence? So there's factor analysis and general intelligence. Factor analysis is a statistical procedure that we identify clusters of related items called factors on a test. They use to ID different dimensions of performance to underline one's total score. G factor, general intelligence. Charles Spearman came out with this. He believed that the G intelligence underlies specific mental abilities. It's measured by every task on an intelligence test, the G factor. All right, savant syndrome, multiple intelligence. We're going to talk a little about that. Obviously, savant syndrome is a unique form of intelligence where there is some social awkwardness and issues, limited mental ability. However, they have an exceptional gift in certain areas such as computation, drawing, and musical memory. Check out the clip here from my man Tom Cruise and Rain Man, where his brother Raymond is a savant. All right, Robert Sternberg's triarchy theory. Tri means three. He focused on analytical, creative, and practical intelligence on his test of intelligence. Are there multiple intelligence? I think so, absolutely. Some people claim we have social intelligence, how we can comprehend social situations and manage oneself successfully. I'm sure you've run into people who don't know when to take a social cue, that a conversation is over, and they just keep talking and talking and talking. We could say maybe their social intelligence is limited. Emotional intelligence, the ability to perceive, express, understand, and regulate emotions. Some people are gifted in this. They can see someone and be like, "Hey, are you feeling okay?" They have that extra sense and that emotional intelligence to perceive emotional understanding. All right, here's that chart in the book here talking about the main theories of intelligence, including Spearman's G factor, Thurston's primary mental abilities, Gardner's multiple intelligence, check that one out specifically, and Sternberg's triarchic theory. All right, creativity, the ability to produce novel and valuable ideas. Some of us lack in this, you could say. Some others are awesome at this. They have imaginations that are beyond description. They're motivated intrinsically. They like to journey out on their own, and they're just creative altogether. All right, where did intelligence testing come from? All right, Stanford Binet. Intelligence tests are a method of assessing an individual's mental aptitudes and comparing them to those of other using scores. Real simple. We get a mental age. A mental age, a measure of intelligence test performed by Alfred Binet, and a chronological age that most typically corresponds to a given level of performance. A child who does as well as the average 8-year-old is said to have a mental age of 8. So 8 mental age, 8 chronological age, average intelligence. All right, Stanford Binet is the widely used American revision of his original intelligence test, revised later at Stanford. And how does it work? You get the IQ, the intelligence quotient, which is the IQ equals the mental age divided by their chronological age times 100. On contemporary tests, the average performance for a given age is assigned a score of 100. That's the norm. That's the average. 100 IQ is right there in the middle. That's the average. So above it, higher IQ. Below it, lower IQ. All right. How do you guys get tested besides at school? 2 major tests that you'll be exposed to, especially if you're going into college, which I hope many of you are pursuing. An aptitude test versus an achievement test. Aptitude tests are designed to predict your future performance, basically the capacity to learn. An achievement test, it's designed to test what you know. The SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, is just that. The ACT is an achievement test. It's designed to assess what you learned. Now, personally, my favorite when I went to college was the ACT. I enjoyed that much better, as some of you may have compared to the SAT as well. So the ACT was my favorite, although some of you may be into creative writing and things like that, and you may flourish in the SAT. Math, science, maybe the ACT. I prefer the ACT. All right, the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, most widely used intelligence test today. It has a subtest of verbal and performance nonverbal assessments. Here's some more information on the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. And here's some examples that you can look at in your notes. All right, assessing intelligence, standardization, norm curve. Standardization is so important, okay? So important. It is essentially the sample for an experiment. If not a sample, experiments are meaningless. Without a standardization, a test is meaningless. It compares the performance with a pre-tested standard group, the baseline. So that's very important. The normal curve is what you know as that bell curve, the bell-shaped curve that distributes scores of people. Most fall near the average and fewer fall at the extremes, as you can see from this. That's a big 68% of people fall in that middle area. All right. And then you get your extremes. All right. Assessing intelligence. My last little thing I want to point out to you guys, reliability and validity. Reliability is the extent in which a test yields consistent results. So if it's taken over and over and over again, it's going to have consistent results. All right. Assessed by consistency of scores on two halves, alternate forms, retesting. Reliability is important. You get consistent results. That's a good test. Validity is very important as well. Does it test what it predicts what it's supposed to test? The extent to which a test measures or predicts what it's supposed to. Now, North Carolina just phased out a test called the NC Final Exam. The NC Final Exam was used, and I'm sure some of you may have taken it, or your brothers and sisters. It was neither reliable or very valid. It was one of the weaknesses of those tests. They weren't normed or standardized. So that's why you had these huge ranges of scores on there. So thank goodness North Carolina is phasing them out. All right, content validity, the extent which a test samples behavior that is of interest. All right, and then criterion, the measure used in defining whether the test has a predictive value. Last couple slides here. Dynamics of intelligence. On the low end, we have mental retardation and Down syndrome. And obviously, if you get an IQ below 70, you're considered mentally MR. And here's some extreme levels of MR in our population. Short but sweet, 5C. I'm out.